I'm Will,
And I'm Steven.
and this is the Post P Chronicles. Hey, everybody, what's going on? First and foremost, I want to let you know we are brought to you by TG, the Gym Chula Vista. Come check it out. Get your best body at the gym. And do not forget to subscribe, to like, hit that button, follow us, like. So, Steven, what's going on? Who do we have today?
We got a very special guest, someone that I've come to know over the last couple weeks. Great guy. Great story. You guys are in for a treat. Mr. Andy Lopez. What's up, Andy?
What's up, my peoples? You already know, man. Just chilling with y'all.
What's going on, man?
You know what it is. I'm just, where we going to start at?
Let's start with you. So tell us about your upbringing. Where are you from? What's your family look like? Siblings, parents?
I'm originally from New York. My parents are immigrants from the Dominican Republic. I have 5 brothers, but I was the first one born here. So being the first one born here, I had challenges that my parents didn't know about. I was never enough to belong to a group. I was never Dominican enough because I was born here. Even though I knew the language, knew the culture, I didn't know how they grew up over there. So I wasn't Dominican enough. I wasn't black enough to be around the African Americans. I wasn't white enough to be around the white people. So growing up, I always had to find my identity. And finding my identity was always a challenge because I had to make my own identity because I didn't fit in any group. I didn't fit in a box.
So I got a question. At what point, at what age did you start to realize you didn't fit in anywhere?
I could say as soon as I hit school, like 6 years old. And what led to that was when I was 6, the apartment that we used to live like in a slum in New York. There's some big buildings, and the building that we used to live, it wasn't a project because it was more of a slum where immigrants used to come in Manhattan, and it was built where there was one bathroom in the middle of the hallway, and everybody on that floor will use that bathroom. So that's where my parents were able to move when they first got here. So I grew up there, and that apartment had a restaurant under it, and the light bulb popped and it caught on fire. So our apartment was the first one. So my mom, wanting to help everybody, she started running around the building. She got us out, left her with a neighbor that had a van, and we stayed there the night while my mom was running up the building trying to warn everybody of the smoke. Her taking all in that smoke, she ended up fainting. They took her to the ambulance. They gave her oxygen. She was all right. Later on in life, we find out that messed her up with her asthma and everything else with her health. But at that moment, her main goal was to get us to school because my mom believed that education was going to be our way out. Right. So she grabbed our clothes, put it on us, and sent it to school. Little did she know that when I get to school, I'm smelling like if I was a smoked ham. I was smelling just like smoke. So at that young age, they put me in school. When I get to school, the teacher decides to put me by the window. It was February in New York, and that's winter for us. It was super freezing. Cold. She put me by an open window, and the kids were making fun of me. Hey, you stink, you stink, you stink. Until I just got into a point where I just reacted and punched the first kid that kept making fun of me. Right. Hitting that kid, that was my first taste of violence. Because when I hit him, everybody stopped making fun of me. And now every time I felt that I was on the wall or felt like somebody was putting pressure on me, my first reaction was to use violence. And then my older brothers, they had came over here from the Dominican Republic, and they always told me the first hit could be the last hit. So as soon as I felt threatened or argue with somebody and it wasn't going nowhere, I just threw my hands up.
So how old are you at this point with the window story?
I was 6 years old. So
6 years old?
And that was my first year in high school and in elementary because my mom was waiting for my brother that's a year younger get old enough so he could be in kindergarten. She didn't want to separate us.
So let me ask you this. Obviously, the house burned down, going to school. How did your home life look with your parents being 2 immigrants? Were you guys kind of every child for themselves because your parents didn't know what to do and you guys are in a new country? Or what was your upbringing and household like?
It was basically my mom because around that same time, my father decided to walk out. And the little money they had saved up to buy a house in the DR, he took it with him and left to Puerto Rico with a different woman and just walked out on my mom. So now my mom is trying to figure it out in this apartment with 6 boys because my youngest brother was only 1. So he walked out on us, and my mom ain't know. She really still don't know the language to this day.
Wow.
She speak little English. At least she has support from her brothers, and that's where we end up moving out to Queens.
So obviously that's very difficult for a child and for your mom. 6 boys, doesn't know the language, trying to figure it out, and her husband, her partner just walks out
with all the money.
So with all the money. So I mean, first off, hats off to your mom, for dealing with that. But now you're 7 years old. You move to Queens. What's that like, moving to Queens without your dad? What's that like?
Moving to Queens also was a culture shock because I used to live in the Lower East Side where it's all buildings. Moving to Queens, they used to call Queens more the suburbs because it was all houses. So now I'm in Queens and it's like I don't find myself in Queens. I think they soft, the way they move. So then I start going to school. That's when I start interacting. And my way to even get known in Queens was using violence.
How old are you at this time?
At this time, I'm 11 years old.
Okay.
So is your goal to be like feared and respected?
It wasn't then. So how I ended up getting into that type of lifestyle was when I was 16, the gang that I ended up belonging to, a guy came from prison. At that time, I wasn't into gang. I didn't want to be in gang. My younger brother was part of a gang. And some of my friends, they all started joining the
so you
opposite
just knew
gang.
at that age, violence meant people leaving you alone.
Yes.
So you would resort to violence because you just wanted to be left alone.
Wanted to be left alone, and it was my only way to react when I felt threatened. It's almost like whenever I felt like I was a mouse against the wall, violence was my first way to use and to stop everything. Because I learned from that day when I punched that kid in the face, as soon as you hit somebody, everything stops.
That's good. So 7, 8, 9, 10, using violence to... That's your conflict resolution.
Yes.
Violence. Where does the gang stuff come in?
So the gang stuff came in because I started getting into wanting to fight against injustice. So there wasn't the Black Panthers no more. The young laws weren't around. So when I met this guy that had came home from prison, he started showing me the paperwork of the gang. And basically that gang was created to unite people of all races, of all colors. So it was like almost the perfect place for me because I knew what it was not to fit in. So now I started becoming part of this movement. But like any movement, you start bonding with people. And it wasn't a gang like we was looking to start trouble. No, it was most of the fight that we got was one of the guys in the group got into an argument with another group, and now we protecting each other. So they'll beat him up, we'll try to beat up 5 of them. And it was just making a name. But we was also enforcing to go to school, to do all these other things. But we was trying to live 2 lifestyle.
So now I know a lot of people don't have fathers. Your father walked out on you at 5 or 6 years old. They resort to gangs, right? That's their love. That's their first time an older man or men will take them in and make them feel like family. Was that how you felt? Like you said, you don't fit in, you resort to violence to be left alone. Now you got this group that wants to take you in and feel like you're part of them, you're one of them. Is that maybe why you joined them?
I joined them more because I thought it was going to be like the revolution thing, that I was going to have a group of people around me to move as a movement against injustice. But then getting involved, you start going through stuff together. You start becoming family because, say, my friend got kicked out of the house. Even though I didn't get kicked out of the house, I'm staying outside with him so he don't be out there by himself. I'm bringing him food for my house. So, or we in a different block that we definitely going to get jumped, and we get jumped together. Now you start building this bond, and it's definitely don't feel like a gang. It becomes more like a family and your crew. These people ain't just your crew because you got the same color, you from the same neighborhood. Because in New York, gangbanging was a little bit different. It didn't matter what neighborhood you was. It was the group that you connected with. So you could be from this block and this other gang could run that block, but you chill on the other block, where's the other gang, and you become part of the other gang. And then you got family members on opposite gangs.
Right. So I got a question. For a little clarity, because you said Black Panthers, then you said the Young Lords. For those who don't know what that is, what is that?
Those were revolutionary groups, basically, to fight against injustice, to educate us about where we come, and to stand against the oppression that people with dark skin were feeling, and people of other descent that wasn't white were being under.
Now, what years is this going on when you're growing up?
This is all starting in the early 2000s. 98 is when I became a gang member. So 98, 99, 2000.
Okay.
Okay. So from what I'm hearing, just a quick recap. So you joined the gang, but from early on, it seemed like your heart wasn't to cause trouble. It was to unite people and be, of service to your community and to others around you. But, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and it sounds like it may have started to unravel a little bit.
Slope.
When did it start to unravel?
It started unraveling basically when I started getting more involved in the gang.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I was a natural born leader. So I was getting leadership position where I didn't want it. And it was almost like something my mom told me when I was young. She was like, no matter what you do in life, people are always going to follow you. And I was like, that's my gift and curse. Mm-hmm. Because my mom used to see all the kids always used to come around me when I was young. So she told me that when I was young. And being involved in a gang, it's almost like the guys that were in higher position or older, they weren't really repping it right. So it was like I stepped up to the plate and even fought the other guys. So now if I'm spanking the other guys, going on one-on-one with them, I started taking their position, and it was like almost everybody just basically fell around me. So now one of my friends, he comes out of juvenile hall, and he asks me, hey, can you lend me some money so I could go to the club? I lend him some money. So the next day he says, hey, I've been watching this guy. He's been selling drugs all day. All I need you to do is be the lookout, and I could give you your money back. So I did that with him. I was the lookout. Little did we know that same guy that we robbed, the drug dealer, called the cops on us. So now he called the cops on us. We end up getting locked up that night. I'm trying to take all the blame because I'm like, hey, I'm a first time. I could probably get probation, but I don't want probation. I want what we call a bullet. That's 8 months in the county. Mm-hmm. So while we in there, because the weapon was found on me, I end up getting more time. And what I thought was going to be 8 months end up being me copping out to a 1 1/3 or 4. That's 16 months to 4 years.
So this is your first time being incarcerated, correct?
Mm-hmm.
How does that feel? You were going just to help your buddy. You're trying to take the blame for your buddy. You think you're only getting, 8 weeks?
Yeah, 8 months.
8 months?
Yeah.
And it turns out to something longer. What's going on in your head?
In my head is going on like it was something that I already knew. It was something that I felt that it was going to take over because I was living both lives. So in school, I was a 90 average student while I was still gangbanging. So I always used to like grab the younger kids in my neighborhood and grab some of them and be like, hey, you're not going to be a gangbanger. We're going to protect you, but you're going to become a lawyer or a doctor, or you're going to start a business and give me a job. So in my mind, I had a teacher when I was 8. She told me there's only 2 places you're going to end up, dead or in prison. And I tried to fight that when I was younger by doing good in school and everything else. But I became that prophecy. And it hit me when I started, when we started having, gang wars, that I was going to be the baddest gangster. If I was going to pursue this, I was going to pursue it all the way. But I was still trying to do the school thing, but the gangbanger was taking over because I'll be in class and say one of my homies getting jumped. So I'm running out of class and leaving everything. So when I ended up in prison, my gang is not a huge gang. So most of the time, guys, when they go into prison, they drop their flag or become something else and stuff like that. So I was determined to come home, repping my gang, and I was going to rep it in prison. So instead of doing 16 months, I ended up doing the whole 4 years.
So you maxed out because you were fighting and representing your gang and putting the name on for your gang.
Yep, anywhere that I went.
Right. So, go ahead.
I was going to say, what influenced you and made you so hardcore that I'm going to represent and I'm going to defend my gang's honor no matter what to the death while I'm in prison? What was the mindset behind that, and why is my question. Because you're still young at this point, right? What age are you when you get locked up first time?
When I got locked up the first time, I was 18.
18.
A month after I turned 18,
So what's the mindset of you like, okay, we're in the minority, but I'm just going to defend this?
So my mindset was like, I knew I was always told that I wasn't going to make it past 18. So I made it to 18. So it was like, bro, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die for something that I'm repping and I'm going to go all the way. The gang became everything I was known for. If you knew about me, my name came up, it was, they used to call me Bullet. They used to say, hey, that's Bullet from La Familia. That was who my reputation was. It became my reputation.
It's your identity.
It was my identity. It was everything that I was.
And not only that, you had told us earlier when you was a child, you didn't have anywhere to call home. You wasn't, Dominican enough. You wasn't black enough. You wasn't white enough. You wasn't anything enough. But you were La Familia enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so that became your identity, which is why you held on to it so strongly. So you get through prison. Any prisons that we may have heard about, where was you at? Where'd you do your time at?
When I first came in, I went to like a medium facility because I was young, and from there they just shoot me up to max facility because I ended up getting into fights. So I ended up in Kasaki, and then I came home from a prison called Auburn, and that's the oldest prison in New York.
Okay, so you came home, and you was wearing it with pride. You was wearing your gang with pride, and I'm pretty sure you came home with love. What did that look like? As soon as you came home, what was the what was the first thing you wanted to do after 4 years in prison? What was the first thing that you wanted to do?
I wanted to see my mom, and that's what happened. Like, my uncle caught me coming out I didn't want nobody to pick me up, and nobody knew when I was coming home, because every time, say, my CR came up, my first time to see the boy, I always lost my date. So everybody just thought, and a week before, I called my mom and told her, hey, Mom, I think I caught a new charge. I might not be coming home, because I wanted to surprise her. So I come home from the bus. Rest in peace, my uncle finds me trying to buy my mom some flour. He's like, come on, man. She don't want no flour. Just get you to the house before you get into something. So I get to the house. My mom ain't there. My little brother's there. He opened the door. He's crying. And boom, my mom is not there. So my mom gets there a few minutes later. So I'm hiding in the bathroom. And my brother said, Mom, look at this mess they left in the bathroom. Look at this mess. So my mom walks in the bathroom. And when she see me, she fell on the floor like she fainted. And I was like, Mom, no, I'm joking. Get up. And she was like, oh my God, you home. But I came home on my brother that's a year younger than me on his birthday. And he has the same birthday as Tupac. So now when I come home, everybody's like, yo, he's home already. No lie, it was almost like I was being worshipped. Because now I get OG status. Now I come home, everybody's after me. Yo, you made it home. We heard how many times you could come home. They all wanted to know the stories about being in the box. They heard all the things that I was doing.
So at this point, like you just said, OG status, there's not coming out with any intention to change. You're like, okay, I got a name. I got to keep this going. That's my identity still.
And guess what? I came with the intention to change and even get a job and stuff like that. Because, I wanted to be one of those gangster, but that always had another way out. So I knew that I wanted to build something. So I wanted to change, and I even got a regular job and everything. But then when I came home and I seen the guys that were under me, making money selling drugs, not suffering. They were buying me clothes when I came home. I was like, bro, I can't do this. I can't walk a 9 to 5. And then we started going to war too. So it wasn't no time to be able to have a 9 to 5, get caught slipping, walking a 9 to 5, and also gangbang. So it was like, if I'm on a gangbang, we're going to get territory. And we also, now that I have a group with me, we could start moving work. And this way we could make money. And also we started getting involved with shooting at each other. So now we needed money to get gun. So now we just get into the drug game.
Now how'd that look? Now, like you said, you dropped the 9 to 5. You came out with a mentality, I'm going to get a job. I'm going to do something different. And that quickly faded. So now you're in the drug game. What's life looking like? What's going on?
Life, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. There was moments that I wish I was back in prison. Because I didn't have to make no decision. I didn't have to answer for somebody getting stabbed. I didn't have to go do this and that. And it was like, there was moments that I wish I was back in prison. And it's almost like I had a death wish. So it was like I was walking around like, whoever try us, we're gonna make a name for us. And the numbers started growing, and we started spreading to other neighborhoods. So they just started becoming bigger and bigger. And then in my neighborhood, there's one area where all three gangs call it a neutral area. We all hang out. There's brothers and family. And if anything happened in that area, you just shoot the 5, or you talked about it. So this is how the younger kids under me end up arguing with the older kids from the gang, rival gang. And what happened was they called me, and I was the OG. One of the younger kids pulled out because one of the older guys from the other side said, hey, I was like, yo, why you picking on little kids? That's the same thing y'all used to do to me because they were older than me. And I started spanking y'all, and y'all didn't want it. So if y'all want to fight these little kids, fight me. They were copping out like, no, we don't want to fight you. We want to fight them because they being disrespectful. They stopping us from getting money because they gang banging on the block. So one of the guys said, hey, so bring it to the gun. It don't matter how young and how old they are. When we get to the gun, that evens it out. So one of the young kids under me.
Real quick, what does that mean?
Bring it to the gun.
Bring it to the gun.
Meaning have a shootout.
Okay.
Meaning let's bring out firearms. And the guys were in their 30s, and these kids were in their 15 that were under me. And I was only in my 22.
Right.
So they said, bring it to the gun. One of the younger kids under me, he goes get a sawed-off shotgun, pulls it out, and don't use it. So y'all know the rules of the street is if you pull out, you got to use. And me being the OG, I had to set the example. So I told him, hey, let me get the shotgun. As soon as I grabbed it, before that, my friend David pulled me to the side and was like, bro, everybody's drunk. We can handle this tomorrow. Just take your people and I'll take my people. And we did this.
Because you're still in the neutral zone at this point? When
In
this
the
argument's
neutral
going
zone.
down?
And the guy that pulled me to the side is one of my childhood friends. He ended up joining the other gang because his older brother was in it, and I ended up falling to the other gang. But we was always having each other back.
He's trying to talk some sense into you.
Yeah. So he pulled me to the side, and I was like, bro, I can't do it. Like, I got too much pressure on me. I got to handle this. And a little thing to say is that 3 people that night told me, hey, you don't have to handle this. We can handle this. But me being my pride stopped me from listening to people because I was like, nah, I got to handle this. I'm OG. I got to handle this. And whatever y'all do wrong is going to fall on me. So my friend tried to take the shotgun. So he talked to me. I grabbed the shotgun from the other kid. He tried to take the shotgun away from me. When he pulled the shotgun from my hand, it went off and it took his life. That's when my
Your close friend?
It was my close friend, but he belonged to the other gang. That's why there was stories saying that, hey, I came out like Arnold Schwarzenegger. But people that did not grow up with us didn't know how close we was.
So you ended up accidentally taking your best friend's life.
Yeah, because he pulled a shotgun away from me. And that's how it was. It was an accident. And I ended up going to trial and proving that I didn't murder my best friend, one of my best childhood friend, but they end up giving me 15 years for the gun for being a known gang member and for also a statement that I wrote that I told the police, hey, it was an accident.
So let's talk about that because that's probably a pivotal moment in your life. You're gang banging. You're in a neutral zone. You're one of your best friends from childhood's gang banging the opposite gang. He's trying to talk some sense into you. You're not listening. Accidents happen. Pull off a shotgun. You take away your best friend's life. What is gang banging the priority then? What's going through your mind as this happens? Like, what is now going through your mind?
I go blank because I see his eyes turn. I see him die in front of me. As I'm talking to you right now, I could picture everything and relive it. And my thing was, they're not going to give me a fair trial. So I went on the run for 6 months. They ended up finding out I was in Florida. I wasn't able to leave the country because I was trying to leave to the Dominican Republic. But after 9/11, you just can't jump on a cruise with an ID. You need a passport. So I was waiting for a passport for somebody else to be able to leave. But they ran down on me, and they caught me in Florida. And then the police told me, hey, we could help you out because we know it was an accident. We need you to write a statement. And when they tell you whatever you say and whatever you do, they're going to use it against you, they flip the whole story against me and charge me with murder.
Man, so, I mean, sorry that you went through that because obviously you that was your best friend. And, you know, you were the cause of his death. So I'm definitely sorry you went through that. But so now you get arrested. What is your mindset? Are you still full-fledged in the gang when you go to prison this time, or how's that looking this time you go to prison?
Oh yeah, I'm full-fledged in the gang, and it's like, bro, I'm gonna die in prison. And it was also the battle inside. It's like, it was an accident. God, why you ain't take me? Because he had a kid. So I didn't have no kid. All I was doing was gang banging. My whole life was the gang.
So you're 22 and you got 15 years.
I was 23 because when I was on the run, I was able to have one birthday in the street. So,
okay, so 23, you get 15 years. And back to what you're saying. You wished it was you instead of him, and you're full-fledged gangbanging inside.
Yeah, and when I was on the run, I tried to take my life one time. I had put the clip on the. I had a 9, and I pulled the clip back and everything. I pulled the trigger, and it didn't go off.
Wow.
It didn't go off, and as soon as I did that, I took it and it shot it, and the bullet came right there. At that time, the girl that I was with, she came into the room and took the gun away from me when she heard me with the shot because I was going to try it again. And so I ended up getting caught by the police. Now I'm in Rikers Island. In Rikers Island, I'm gangbanging. There's people looking for me, people saying they're going to do this, they're going to do that. But I was in every building. I was fighting in every place that I got. So it was like they end up putting me in something they call AMSET, where I was separated from population because I end up cutting like 3 people in one incident and then another person in one incident that he was there involved that night. So now it's almost like everybody is out for my head.
So how long were you in Rikers Island?
3.5 years before
Fighting
I went to my first trial. And then I went to my first trial. My first trial was a mistrial because the DA was holding the evidence that the shell that they found had my friend's DNA because he had touched it the day before. I had showed him the shotgun. And then they were holding the evidence that he was drunk, his alcohol poison that he had in his body. They were holding that. And they were also holding how the shells, because it was buck shell, that's why it spread and killed him right away, but how it went in his hand, how it showed that he was pulling it. So the judge had to call, my lawyer had to call mistrial because if we would have continue with the case and I would have blew trial, he can't bring these evidence up. So when he calls mistrial, the judge pulls me to the side and say, hey, where every other courtroom that you go, they're going to try to give you the max, and you're probably going to get 25 to life. I'm going to offer you 15 for the gun, and you don't have to plead guilty to killing your friend. You just got to plead guilty to having a gun. So I just thought about putting his mom through trial and everything and putting my mom and my family through all that again. Now, the thing that happened was on the day of my sentence, his mother has his cousin read a statement. And she said that she didn't forgive me because she knew me as a child. She didn't forgive me because she believed my story or believed the other story that I murdered her son. She said she forgave me because of Jesus Christ. And that was when my journey started. I went to law library because I was trying to prove that it was an accident. I met a lady there, and she started telling me about Jesus, and I told her about the accident, and I told her that 3 times that night people told me not to go to that place, and she was like, it was your pride that got you there. The same thing that got the devil to fall from heaven was the same sin that you was committing because 3 people told you and you went. So now I get sentenced. I'm getting ready to go upstate, and my mind's already changing. Christ is working in me, and I start changing my ways. Even though I'm still gangbanging, even though I'm still going to everybody, I end up in Attica. And right there is where my OG in prison is there. So now I'm the next one to step up because he's going home. But when I see him, I tell him, hey, I can't serve 2 masters. I can't gangbang and I can't follow Christ. And I'm choosing to follow Christ. He was like, bro, you put your work in. Like, your name is on tender and you're able to step away. But if you decide to leave Christ and start banging with somebody else, then you know you become our enemy. And I was like, bro, I'm not playing no games with God. And I'm going to follow God to the fullest. And that was the decision that I made that changed my whole prison bit. Even though there was places where I was going, I had to go to the yard let them know I was there, and let them know what they was going to do, because I wasn't going to hide. And I know God was going to protect me. I changed my scalpel for a Bible.
So how far into prison when this transformation of Jesus Christ in your life
That was my
happens?
question too.
Yeah.
And it started in the beginning of my bid, because I did 3.5 years in Rikers. I ended up in Sing Sing first, like it's a transfer jail. And I only stayed there 3 months, and then I ended up in Attica with him. So it was really reason in beginning of my bid that I made the decision.
So one of the beginning of that transformative process was the simple fact that a lady said, I'm not forgiving you because of this, this, and this. I'm forgiving you because of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And that probably got the wheels turning, like, how can someone do something like that? Right? Or you wouldn't even be surprised if she chose not to forgive you because you murdered her family member.
Mm-hmm.
But she chose to forgive you, and I'm sure that left a lasting impression in your life.
I got a question. What was your relationship with Christ, with God, like before that conversation that she had, before that letter was written? Did you go to church? Did you have any kind of relationship with him at all?
Before, I was always a believer. I always had like a relationship with God. I always felt a calling, but I wasn't really into that lifestyle. And it was like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I was more in a relationship with God, like maybe like Tupac had. You know, I believe in stuff like that, but I was fighting my demons and chose not to really, and didn't have a relationship because I'm coming back from a Catholic background.
So in name only, pretty much.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this process, right? It sounds like you put in enough work to where you don't have to be gangbanging in prison. The only stipulation is don't go to another gang, which is completely off the table for you anyways. What are you doing now to transform and change your mind or renew your mind as you're in prison? Because obviously you got another, 14 years left at this point? That's a long time. So what's going on in this process?
So what I'm looking is I'm getting around older people that have life. They ain't never going to go home. So they schooling me and telling me, hey, you still got a chance. I'm getting into programs. I'm trying to get into college. I'm trying to get into anything that was positive. And most of the time, like, I already had my reputation, so I only messed with people that had reputation. So I was always working out. Working out became my escape. I was always in the weight pit. If you ain't see me in the weight pit, then I was in some program trying to elevate myself.
So how long did you do in prison?
I did 12 and a half. I ended up getting some time off because I ended up doing the puppy program, and I also started college in there, so I ended up getting 24 credit. That got me eligible to get 6 months off my bid.
What's the puppy program?
The puppy program, basically, we train service dog for wounded veterans. And I was training service dogs for 4 years, so I became a certified dog trainer, took that test, and the dog changed my whole world because it taught me how to read body language and also know when I was starting to get mad. Because even though I had became a Christian and God had given me a soft heart, I was still punching people in their face. I was still dealing with that anger. So sometimes they even said, there go the angry Christian again. He'll pray for you and then he'll beat you up.
Man.
I mean, I'm a dog lover. That sounds like a great job. But yeah, dogs, when you're trying to train a puppy, that's a lot of lessons and patience, and you can't just beat the crap out of it when it's not doing something you want. Dog goes to the bathroom and doesn't listen. You got to realize, well, that's my fault. I haven't trained it well enough. It's not the dog's fault. And that really, I could see being a certified dog trainer for 4 years, that's got to develop a lot of patience and a lot of conflict resolution. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try this. So I could see how the dogs would change your life. I got a dog that's changed my life.
Yeah, and I had a dog that was super sensitive, what they call in dog training sensitive, that my voice, as you hear my voice deep, I had to change my voice. I had to talk with a low voice and everything because she was scared of my voice. So she taught me how to read my body language. She would sit down by my feet and just lay down when she felt my anger rising. So she would put me on point and be like, hey, bro, like, check yourself. And she would listen to my command, but she would not take my treat. So that's how I knew that the way I was speaking to her was kind of rough and everything else.
So that's good. Brought a lot of self-awareness to you. Now, what you said early on when you were 6 years old, your response to everything is violence. And that's all you know is violence makes things stop, right? Mm-hmm. What skills do you learn and develop going forward now because you realize violence? You said you're an angry Christian that'll pray for you and punch you in the face.
Yeah.
I'm sure you didn't want to be known for that.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things you did to change that?
It's almost like I knew what I could do. I knew what I could do to other people, so I started thinking for them. And I started seeing that in the end, even if I won the fight, I came out losing because I would have ended up back in the box, would have ended up alone. And it was like, it never meant nothing. And it went against the walk that I was trying to do. So it would have stopped me from finishing the puppy program. It would have stopped me from finishing my college education. And then going through college and starting to get educated, my mind started opening up and started seeing, hey, yeah, I made some wrong choices, but was this made by design?
So you did 12 and a half years. You are finally free, and from what it sounds like, you're a new man. You know, once you're free, what is the freedom looking like this time around?
The freedom this time, I had changed, and my brother, when I left, he was 17. He had joined the Navy, and we didn't see each other in 10 years. Like a year before I come home, he comes visit me with his wife, and he said, listen, I know you changed your way, but the hood is not going to let you go. You go back to the neighborhood, it's going to pull you back, or you're going to end up dead. And he said, do you want to come out to live with me? At that time, he was stationed in North Carolina. But before I got home, he got stationed in San Diego. And I didn't know that I was going to come out to California because in New York, they wait to give you the decision if they're going to let you transfer parole to another state 3 days before. So I was just worried, like, where am I going to go? You know, I knew I couldn't go back to I could go back to my neighborhood because I had respect. Nothing like that was going to happen, but I knew it was going to be a big chance for me falling back into everything that was going to call me because I was going to get around the homies, I was going to get around this. And the same thing that got me there in the first place was going to get me back.
You know what? That's really good if you really think about it, because a lot of times you can be changed, you can do the work, you can do all the self work, but bringing back in old triggers and trauma can bring back old responses, right? So, I mean, you're a new man, but old traumas can still bring back old triggers. Mm-hmm. So, and I encourage anyone out there that's listening, if you want to change or there's something that's bringing out something in you that you don't like, a lot of times it's just moving on from that or getting in a new environment. And yes, we should deal with our triggers, but old things that have been going on throughout your whole life, a lot of times will manifest the same old responses. So that's a good wisdom there, that you left knowing you're a new man, knowing that you've been transformed, but knowing the hood has not changed, and knowing that it's going to try to bring out the same old Andy that was there before. So going to a new environment with a new mindset is probably, we could say, saved your life as well.
Yeah, that's why I say New York raised me, but San Diego saved me because it gave me a second chance. If I would have not came to San Diego, it would have been, say I would have done everything right, I would have gone right. The easiest way when you're trying to get a name in the street is to take somebody out that had a name. So my life was always in danger, not because I left the street in the wrong way, but because of the name that I already had, the rep that I already had. So all they had to do was try me.
You're just a walking target.
Yes.
So you said, and that was beautiful, by the way.
Yeah.
New York raised me, but San Diego saved me.
I love that.
Love it. So how long have you been out here in San Diego?
Last month I made 3 years.
3 years, man. Well, welcome.
Glad to have you.
We're glad to have you. So what has the experience been like in San Diego? And, you know, like you said, you moved in with your brother. You was able to come out here. So you had family out here. What I really want to know is, how was it when you saw your mom again after all those years?
So my mom took the plane with me and stayed the first 2 weeks out here. It was like unbelievable. The first, I could say maybe the first 4 or 5 months, it was almost like I didn't believe that I was free. I had to check that it was still a dream and everything else. But being able to see my mom, and that's all I wanted to do was eat her food. So her coming out here for 2 weeks with me cooking. But at first, I was culture shocked by San Diego because the whole environment is different. And then my brother was living in East Lake. So now those were, East Lake was a neighborhood in New York that I couldn't go in. Right. That if I would have walked in, police is stopping me. I'm getting stopped and frisked. I'm getting harassed. Now I'm able to walk around this neighborhood. So I didn't leave the house up to after the first week when I got a phone and I learned how to use the Google Maps and Apple Map, because I was scared of getting lost. I was scared of ending up in the wrong place.
Man, but you out here for 3 years. Tell us about the experience since you've been out here.
So it was COVID a month after I came. So COVID was a blessing in disguise because it slowed everything down for me. While everybody's stressing of being in the house, I know how to deal with it. While everybody's stressing they can't work out, I know how to work out in my room. I don't need no weights. I could grab my bed, start lifting it up. So living all that experience in prison, I was able to also help my friends. I was able to help people out by telling them, hey, do this, do that. See the blessings. And that helped them get through their time, because where I grew up in New York, that became the epicenter of COVID. So people were dying left and right. But then I was able to get a temp agency to give me a job because it was hard because of my family to get a job. I started getting a job. Then I ended up meeting this girl named Raquel Fuentes. And I wanted to continue my education. I had 40 credit. So now she connected me with Southwestern and the Restorative Justice Department. And then I started just going to school. And school became my way of building myself. Then my brother was going to the Rock Church. So then at first I go to the Rock Church. I'm like, I don't like this church. You got a mega pastor. I'm not going to fit in. And then the sermon that he was saying was forgiveness, and it triggered me that I still had not forgiven my father. Even though I had became a born-again Christian, I was still holding everything that I went through in life to him. And that's when the Holy Spirit moved in me and said, hey, you need to let it go. That's when I started also learning how to forgive my father and let it go and stop blaming him for everything that went wrong in my life.
That's good. It's good when you get to that point. So what is Andy Lopez doing now? What's he trying to achieve, and what are his future goals? I know you told me some of them, but let's hear it here on the podcast.
So basically right now I'm finishing my associate in Southwestern. Just got a full scholarship to San Diego State. So let's go Aztecs.
Yeah. What do you want to go to school for?
Right, my associate I was finishing in sociology, but now I'm thinking about psychology because I'm seeing a lot of my friends are scared to go to see a counselor or a psych and everything. And the biggest excuse is how I'm going to talk to somebody that don't have my life experience. They have all the book smart, they don't have my life experience. Yeah. And I always question how our minds work, what this, why, if I would have done this action, why these people do this action. Because I truly believe that everybody's good in the core. I think you get infected by your environment and stuff around you that change you up. So it's pushing me to major in psychology, and I want to go all the way to my PhD.
That's awesome. You know, before we continue, one thing I want to say is it's cool getting to know you the last couple of weeks. And then when I hear your story, I'm like, that's Andy? You know what I mean? Because you're such a nice guy. You're so full of wisdom. You always have the right words to say. You pour into other people. And it's like, this guy was killing people on the streets. So it's a testament to the change and a testament to the transformations happening in your life. Because you tell me this stuff now, I'm like, Andy's kind of a teddy bear. What's this guy talking about? So it's cool to see that you're a different person now. Because hearing these stories, it's almost hard for me, and I know it's probably hard for Will, to picture these things. But I love that because that's a testimony to what's happened in your life.
Yes.
I was looking for something right now because there was a quote that somebody sent me, and I had posted it one day, and it was what actually reminds me of you. And someone sent to me like, man, when I see this, it reminds me. But people don't know the violence it took to be this calm or to be this at peace. They don't understand it. And I think that's what we're hearing right now. Yeah. Kind of like what Steven just said. Like you hear the story and it's like, hold up, this is Andy? Like,
are we talking about the same guy?
Are we talking about the same guy? Like, am I being tricked? Am I being punked? What's going on? But that's real. Like you've been through so much, but it's those experiences that we went through that shape who we are. And who you are is an amazing individual with a story to tell. And you're going to help so many people.
And I also think it's interesting that your mom talked about the leadership skills. Because I see that too. When you start speaking up in our group, people are drawn to it. Like, oh, who is this guy? They don't even know your backstory, but they're just like, this guy's full of wisdom. This guy's full of passion. This guy's full of fire. Like, this guy has some natural born leadership abilities. That's why, I like it when you come to our group, because you do, God's given you some sort of gift there, and whatever you do in the future, it's going to pay off. Like you said, you talk to us about this entrepreneurial program you're going to do in prison soon.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
So basically, while I was in prison, they had this program called Defy. So I came out here, and their biggest office was in California. I connected with them, stayed in contact with them, and my job just had laid me off because I couldn't work the 40 hours because I started taking more classes in school. So one of the ladies from the program sent me an email and said, hey, we looking for somebody to go inside to basically teach the program. You was part of the program and you taught in prison. Will you like to go? Fill out the application. And I did all the interview, went to the 2 interview, and they let me know, hey, we want you to go inside to teach people how to be entrepreneur. But the thing also that it teach you that with business, you have to change your way of thinking. So it also gets them to face their undefeated belief. It gets them to also going through learning how to talk about their experience in prison and being in prison, but not let it judge them. So I'm super excited of going back in there and teaching people, and being able to go in there without handcuff and coming back out with handcuff is like a blessing to me.
Man. Yeah, no, you're excited. I'm excited to hear, the stories, and, for you to go in there, for people to see you, because you are a great example of what they can be. Like you have to, I just heard something recently, like the same mindset that got you into trouble can't be the same mindset that gets you out of it. So like you said, you have to change the way that you think. And so by them seeing you and hearing your story and you pouring into them, those are just more people that you're touching, more of those leadership skills that your mom said you had. Your blessing and your curse, but this is only a blessing now.
Yeah. And it's just the beginning. You're only 3 years out.
Yeah,
you got a lot more to accomplish.
And it keeps me sane. Giving back keeps me sane. It's almost a selfish thing, because the more that I help, the more it keeps me grounded, and it also keeps my demons at bay, because I still got to fight them. Remember, I knew violence since I was 6 years old, and that was my reaction. So sometimes when I bump with people's head, I have to put the brakes on and say, hey, you can't react like that no more. And I'll say it right here. If you catch me in the wrong time when my demons are taking over, I might react like that person. But if I'm able to stop and see what my violence is going to cause, I can able to stop it. And that's why going back into the prison, being around people that need help, is almost like a selfish act to help other, because it keeps me grounded and it gives me a purpose. Remember, before that, my purpose was my gang. So now helping other, it gives me a purpose, and it also lets me know, hey, you're changing.
Well, I'll speak for myself, but in this circle, we all like to help people. And I don't think there's anything selfish about it. You just said it gives you purpose. So your purpose is to help people. When you're walking in your calling and your purpose, you are going to feel good. So you shouldn't think it's selfish. But also, like for me, there's a Stanford study. There's people that give more are happier than people that get more gifts or receive. So it is better to give than receive. And you could pin it as selfish, but ultimately the reason I want people to go with me to build houses in Mexico isn't necessarily for the family. It's because their lives are going to be changed when we hand over the keys to that family. More so, the family's life has changed absolutely, but their lives are changing from just serving. And so I want them to feel that experience. And that's not selfish. I feel like that's like the highest form of happiness, and the highest form is giving and selfless acts. So I feel that you're just walking in your calling. Now, is it therapeutic? Absolutely. Is it helping you? Absolutely. Is it selfish? I wouldn't say it's selfish. Okay. So, and one last question before we wrap it up. You got another goal. What's your other goal you want to do?
My other goal is to get on stage. When I was in prison, I was able to do a small bodybuilding competition, and I came in 3rd place. So that was another thing where the gym called me, because in the gym, it feels like a gym. It feels like I'm back in that pit, and I could lose myself and lose my mind. But my goal is to get back on the stage, but I want to do it like other people haven't done it. I want my song when I come out to be a song of what Jesus has done in my life, because that's another reason why I give back, is because I know where he brought me out. If you ever go to church and I'm there, you're going to hear my voice. And it's not my voice because I want to be loud or I want people to hear. It's because I know how much he has forgiven me. And when he forgives great to you, when you have great forgiveness, you know that any moment, any little thing that you could do, you don't deserve it. So it's every day I'm grateful for every breath that I take, you know. And the other days I was feeling like guilty that I'm enjoying life, that I'm doing these things, because I left some of my friends that, like I told you, I started getting around people that had life, 25 to life, that I had 100 to life or had natural life and would never come home. I feel like I left those people back, and I got to rewire my mind and be like, it's okay that you enjoying your life. It's okay because that's what they wanted it from you. And if they ever open the door, you have paid the way for them that it could be done.
Absolutely. I mean, Will, you're doing your post-peak Chronicles, and all the guys on the inside are so proud and happy of them. I can just imagine all your ex-cellmates are happy for you. And so, yeah, it's going to take time, but that's a rewiring if you can't feel bad about that stuff.
No, we talked about that earlier, and I told him, like, you know, I never feel like that. You know, I never feel like that and I told you shouldn't feel like that. And the main reason is because you have to live. That's the goal. And I know when you were in there and it was like, bro, when you get out, man, live, man, do this, like do all these things. And so by you doing it and not just doing it, but enjoying it, they're living through you. Because that's what they say to me. Like, bro, like when we see you, it shows us that it's possible. And so I know that's what they're seeing when they see you. You know, when they see, if anybody sees your Instagram, what's your Instagram? How can they reach you on Instagram?
Mobbing for Christ, basically, because I stopped banging for my gang, and God and Christ became everything for me. So instead of banging for a gang, I'm mobbing for Christ.
Man,
it's MOBBING for Christ. Correct?
For Christ.
Yes.
And if you see him on IG, he's mobbing for him. You know what I'm saying? Every post, he's mobbing for him. And anybody who sees you in there, that's still in there, if they have any action at seeing what you got going on, I know they proud of you, bro. I know they're proud of you. I know they're seeing you like, man, that's my boy, man. Live, do your thing, and no sad faces, no regret, none of that, because you mobbing for Christ, and you also mobbing for them. So keep mobbing.
You're a success story.
Thank you.
And you're breaking the statistics, so anyone should be happy for you.
Yeah.
Man, hey, Andy, like, it was an incredible pleasure not only to meet you a couple of months ago, you know, and to hear your story now. So it's like full circle, and I'm really getting to know you, and it has truly been a pleasure for you to come and talk to us today. Man, thank you, bro. You're going to do amazing things. Absolutely. In college, go San Diego State Aztecs, Final Four. You know. And for everybody who's listening, do not forget to hit that subscribe button, like, subscribe, post, all those things. Share. Tell a friend. Also brought to you by the Gym Chula Vista. Come in, get your best body at the Gym Chula Vista. This has been another incredible episode with an incredible guest. I'm Will.
And I'm Steven.
And this is the Post P Chronicles.